So, since we're talking Halloween, look what I got going on in the background here.
Oh no! I mean, it's a rat, man. I will crawl over there and I will.
Let's keep it PG.
I know. Yeah, dude. Super excited for tonight. We have been doing this since 2019. We've done 4 commentaries of the Halloween movies. We've done 78, 81. We've done Rob Zombie's 1 and 2. But we've never really reviewed these. We've danced around most of it. We have done the worst Halloween, which mine has mostly changed. Well, it kind of depends. Like they're 2 different things. There's subjective and objective, and they are different for me because of some of the glaring problems of my worst. But once we go all through these, we will rank them, and it will be a blast. I'm super excited to finally start the road to Halloween Ends, and for all we know, like it could be a while before we get another Halloween movie. I mean, if it makes good money, you never know. But for a while, this could be it.
I feel like they're going to do something after this because it's a cash cow. And if they don't have the rights to anything else, then they're not going to just let it go. They're going to figure something out. I don't know.
Jason said my least favorite is Facts. Lol.
Facts? Like,
I think the swipe probably... my swipe always messes up. It's probably... Kills? No. I can't remember. I think he said it last week, but now I can't remember. I haven't slept, and I have slept since then. So kicking off. So tonight we're going to be doing 78 and 81, some fun facts, a quick review, and then we will rate the movie, which I pretty much know what we're both going to give it, but it'll still be fun. And I don't know, maybe we can. I do have one negative I will give the movie, but I'll probably leave that to the end, and I doubt that'll change anybody's opinion or Caleb's rating or anything on it. But you know, sometimes you got to be objective on stuff like this, especially as you grow and your opinions change and you change and your taste for movies change. And we'll also go over. Deb and Matt did a first time watch of 78 and 81. I'll blurb their thoughts in here at the very end, which were very interesting. To counteract you too. Yeah, man. Usually Caleb and I are, sometimes we match up, but most of the time we're on opposite ends. So yeah, it's nice to have, no matter what, we're going to have some differences tonight. But so
I feel like with the Halloween franchise, for the most part, we see eye to eye on quite a few things. There's a couple of things that we kind of miss each other on, but overall, we're in a similar lane.
Yeah, I think and this doesn't have to be true to everybody, but the more you watch the franchise, the more you dig into it, the history and what made it special, I think that can sometimes skew you on how you want the character. You can want the rock and roll character it becomes, or you might want the subtlety, the ghost, like the suspense, stuff like that. It's all about the atmosphere and the build and the shots. In the first movie, and then as it changes. So I understand if you're over here, but if you love that first movie and you just can't get enough of it and you dig, and sometimes maybe you get a little too obsessed with the earlier ones, it can skew you. But if you get obsessed with the other ones, it can skew you there too. But
it's just, you have to admit when something's groundbreaking. Like I've said before, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I understand how groundbreaking those films are to film as a whole. And Halloween is that to horror and suspense and thriller. Like, it just is. There's no way to contradict that. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people lean into it's become more common for people to lean into, well, Halloween's overrated, which, in all fairness, I can see it. It is. But it's for a reason.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to kind of talk about later, is that it's a good mashup between, there's a lot of nods to Psycho. There's a little bit of that film feel to it, the way the characters act, some of the style. There's the Loomis kind of callback. And then so there's it's a nice little in between Psycho and like Friday Part 2. Like it's a nice little transition into that, and it's all about the mood, the atmosphere, and the build, and it's all about the ghost-like character. It's not about thrills and chills, and he put dude's head through 3 doors and then mashed it against the brick. It's not about that, It's subtlety over shock. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll dig into the fun facts. I'm gonna give a little bit of my negatives on it. And then I'll let kind of Caleb take over with anything I might have missed or he wants to add. So 1978 Halloween, I kind of wanted to start off with just the godfathers of Halloween, or the Mount Rushmore of Halloween. So you got Mustafa Akkad, you've got Irwin Yablans, you've got John Carpenter, and you got Deborah Hill. So Mustafa Akkad owns the rights, producer. He was making Desert of Lions in the Desert, or something like that. It was costing him like $300,000 a day. And Irwin Yablans came to him and said, "I'll make you a movie for $300,000 total." And he was like, "Okay, let's talk about it." So he came up with the idea of the Babysitter Murderers, and then he brought it to John Carpenter, based off of John Carpenter's filmography, which was 2 short films, a full-length movie, Assault on Precinct 13, and then he had a couple editing credits as well. So he was on his way up, very young, fresh, and hungry. Yeah. And then he kind of molded that to become Halloween. And then Deborah Hill was also a writer on the movie, producer, and she also helped with a lot of the dialogue of the ladies. And she also helped with, everything on deck, basically. And everybody was hands on deck. So she's also credited for a lot more things. So with those guys right there are the Mount Rushmore of Halloween. Without all those guys, all of them are equally important, I would say. And I know, and it frustrates me when people don't talk about Deborah Hill in the same light as John Carpenter. I understand that if he's an A-list actor, she's B, and I understand that. But you don't have the Halloween we have without Deborah Hill, and it just frustrates me she doesn't get the love that she deserves. And kind of the same thing with Irwin Yablans. He kind of gets overlooked in the grand scheme of things as well.
It's interesting because I feel like until the first round of DVD commentary came out for Halloween, Deborah Hill was kind of like ignored. Her name shows up. People know what she had a little bit to do, but once that commentary came out on DVD, people started to realize how much she actually contributed to the project, and how the product that we got is, I would say, 50-60% her brainchild on the screen. Like, it's pretty intense. She deserves a whole lot more credit for creating the Halloween franchise than she's given. I wholeheartedly agree. If you get a chance, if you find an old Halloween DVD, there is a commentary and featurette with Deborah Hill, and I want to say John Carpenter, but it may not be. It might be Mustafa Akkad. It's been a long...
Yeah, I can't remember. I haven't watched it in...
But it really kind of... she had an eye. She had a vision. She knew what she wanted out of the movie. And it's absolutely insane how well that translated. So I was such a movie nerd when DVDs first started coming out with those commentaries. I gotta watch that one, 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 I gotta learn, I gotta do more, So Halloween, of course, was one I watched on repeat, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street, of course. So
yeah, and Deb said that, glad the title changed. Yeah, the Babysitter Murderers, I wouldn't have quite covered it.
No.
Yeah, so the project was greenlit, independent film, very low budget. Budget was somewhere between $300,000 and $325,000. A lot of that budget went into cameras, which thank God, because it really lasted the test of time for the most part. For the most part, especially from 78 to now. 40 years later. It's 40 plus years later. Also 20,000 of it went to Donald Pleasance, who played Loomis, and knocked it out of the park, in my opinion, anyway. An established actor that intimidated John Carpenter, which was funny. Like, he was kind of scared, but he would let him run with things, then he would kind of like do it himself too.
I have to interject here that at the time, the budget John Carpenter and Deborah Hill and Akkad were working with, the kind of money that they threw at Donald Pleasance wasn't necessarily money that they had.
Right.
That's a big talking point. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot by today's standards, but back then that's a good chunk of their budget. That's
right.
That's a lot, and they wanted somebody with a name to try and bring it, and yeah.
They originally wanted Christopher Lee, but he passed. And which I think he would have been a great Loomis. Like, he has a presence, he has an awesome voice. Would have been good. I think Donald Pleasance, I like his stature a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And his aggression. I think Christopher Lee is great, but I think he's kind of more reserved, it seems like, in a lot of his movies. But Pleasance is the best part of the first two. He was so good. I agree, man. He really does carry the franchise for all the movies that he's in.
Absolutely. I think that it's so crazy to think, with Donald Pleasance at the time, horror wasn't exactly the staple that he was known for. So if I could go back in time, I would kind of like to be like, oh, it's cool, this actor's in a horror movie. Because today, if somebody I really like if Chris Pratt showed up in a horror movie, I would be intrigued. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Well, now horror has a lot more respect on it. Where back in the day, it wasn't too far removed where like being in a horror movie was almost being about the same as like an actor in a porn movie. Yep. Like, they just had no respect. It was like where actors go to die. Yep. But with that, so we had Donald Pleasance making $20,000. He had a 5-day shoot, which is crazy. He's got like less than 20 minutes of screen time. You got Jamie Lee Curtis getting paid $8,000, which is ridiculous for her. She was in a little sitcom, but really she was hired on because of her mother, Janet Leigh, as a nod to Psycho, and kind of getting some royalty in there, making a little fun with it. And she did great too. I love the story about her on the first day of shooting, and she goes home, and John Carpenter calls her. She thinks she's getting fired, and he calls her up to say she did a great job. I love that, like, everybody on set was giving it their all. Everybody had some heart. Like, there were some frustrations. People had difficulties with some people, but I just love the effort. It was a 20-day shoot where they had to just scramble to keep up with the leaves, scramble with the lights, scramble with the outfits, like everything, scramble with the mask. The mask, like, they were going to go with either a clown mask or an altered William Shatner mask. And they, thank God, went with the William Shatner mask. But it's cool how they used the clown mask in the beginning. Yeah. And so with that, like, John Carpenter getting paid $10,000, we got Donald Pleasance making $20,000, and you got Jamie Lee Curtis making $8,000. Now John Carpenter got 10% on the back end. He got 10% of the profits. So the movie was $325,000 to make. It had a slow turnout because it was an independent movie, and then it had a couple articles written on it, and it blew up, and it made $700 million.
It's crazy how much it failed at first. Like, just negative review after negative review after negative review, and then theaters wouldn't show it, and then all of a sudden, I think it was it Robert wrote us not a like glowing review, but like a, hey, it was a horror movie and I didn't see everything coming kind of review. And that's when it picked up and people started going to it because they were like, oh, this review doesn't say it's absolute trash. Like, at the time, like, fast forward 5 years and you've got TV show hosts talking about how if you watch Friday the 13th, you're going to kill your whole family. So,
right.
Yeah, when it blew up, that's another thing I always found interesting is seeing how it tanked and tanked and tanked, and they thought that it was going to be a monumental failure. And I watched an interview with John Carpenter once where he was like, I don't know what I've done. I don't think it was a mistake, but I don't know what I've done. This is horrible. And then he was like, about the time that he was going to give up is when it started blowing up. Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, $700 million. It would become the highest grossing independent movie of all time up until the Blair Witch, which is an anomaly in itself. I think they shot that for like $24,000 or something stupid, and I can't even remember how much it grossed. But
the Blair Witch, I think we should dive into that movie and the story and the build up, because it's so interesting. That
It really is. Yeah,
I'm
I
not a
really
huge
would love
fan of the
to.
movie, but it's brilliant throughout.
Yeah, it's crazy. The marketing on that was unmatched. It really was. I
Yeah.
mean, hiding the actors and everything else. But anyway, going back to Halloween. So yeah, with the low budget, like I said, everybody's scrambling. They even had for one day they had Robert Englund on set. They had one bag of leaves that they painted, and they would take it from scene to scene. And he would that day he would help with the leaves, and then somebody had to pick it up, and they'd have to run to the next scene, and just crazy stuff like that. The little charms. I know there's palm trees in the background, and people give it a hard time, but just that stuff is just so crazy to me. So with Michael Myers, you also have like multiple people playing him. I can't remember the guy's name, Stan something, or I think the kid plays him in the beginning. You got Deborah Hill that plays him, and then you got Tony Moran, and of course you got Nick Castle, and I think somebody else played him too, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think he was a producer or a screenwriter. I can't remember now. But
I can't think of his name, but yeah, there was another guy.
But so it just like all that, just everybody helping all the time, everybody busy working, crunching, and then you also had. I also want to mention that I mean John Carpenter. I have to give him props going above and beyond. Like the dude got $10,000 and then 10%. Now, hopefully it blew up, but it could have been a very small thing. He could have got barely any more than Donald Pleasance. But I mean, he does deserve that 10% because like directing, writing, and the score. The score is like what makes the movie. He had a screen test or a preview of the movie without the music, and the person that watched it said it sucked. It was horrible. So the music makes the movie. It just does. It puts you in the mood the entire time, and then it ratchets up the tension as it goes towards the end. Deb says legit scream queen. She did good. She really did. Jamie Lee is really good in that first movie. The build up to Blair Witch was insane. It really was. I remember as a kid, it was one of those movies that got overhyped, and so I skipped it because I was just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. It can't be that good. Whatever. Let's see. I think that's. I mean, Michael in this movie is the most playful in a playing with your food kind of way. And I mean that in like a hands-off, like he goes and like when Annie's inside the house, he goes into the car and he locks it. She comes back. She has to go back and gets the keys. Then he unlocks it. So he's like kind of messing with it. Like, is she going to notice? Does she know I'm back here? Like if you watch it, the subtle moments of like the ghostly, like I'm here, I'm not here. Like you can't catch me. I'm too good for you. Did he mean to knock off the pot or did he not? Like, was he, toying too much? Like there's just a lot of fun. There are some movements in the movie I don't really care for. As the character would progress, he would become more defined, and sometimes it got meddled with a little bit, but the movements got a little bit more defined in what we wanted to see. And I think James Jude Courtney is just phenomenal, but we will get to that when we get there. But yeah, the ratcheting of the tension, the suspense. I know that some of the dialogue was a little rough for its time, but it's pretty good also for its time and for its budget. Speed, 20 days is insane. It's just I watched it last night. I couldn't make it to 81 because it was like 12:30. I was like, I'm just gonna watch a few, maybe skip through. I'll watch the whole movie. It's so good. And there's the ending, man, of him in the hallway. The sit-up scene adds to the ghostness. Him playing with the food again, like getting hurt and getting back up. Oh, I'm dead. I'm not dead. Like it's just so good. And the ending, it was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was like, ew.
It is phenomenal, but I just had to interject about dialogue real quick. The dialogue is still better than the dialogue in Halloween Kills.
It's very true. It's just like when you really like hone in on like the totally, and like Annie can kind of, when you watch it like 60 times or however many thousands of times I watched it, like, or she's like she's just very and whiny, and like she just kind of grates on my nerves. Like I'm kind of like rooting for Michael there, which I don't know if that was the original intent. Probably was, but
no, I'm never leaving Kills alone ever for any reason.
The music is god tier in that movie. It really is.
There's some things that I will say are great about Kills, but most of it is hot garbage. For its limitations of budget, etc., 78 was really well done. Had a good build-up, several good thrilling moments. Yeah, and see, that it's so interesting to see where Halloween goes after this. because you do get some extremes, and you get some more like kind of laid back approaches. I don't know if laid back's the right term, but kind of like H2O and Resurrection. They're not like wild and kooky as far as like Halloween 5, 6, Kills, or the reboot goes. Um, so the first movie. It's amazing. And it was a different kind of horror because it wasn't a slasher by the numbers. I think that's also part of the appeal to horror fans is that it separates itself from the rest of the slasher genre.
Is there a way
Oh
to
Lord!
is there a way to give Jason a timeout there for H2O or Resurrection's
No.
way better than H2O? You're crazy,
I
son.
love Resurrection. It's one of the worst. It is not better than H2O. Maybe the
Hey,
opening scene. Everything else is not. The Mask is better. I
yeah,
like the bushes scene and the laundry room scene. Yes,
yeah,
and you notice that it's a different type of build up than the later movies, especially like Kills. It makes you go through the moment with the characters. It also cuts to just a few characters to keep you focused. It's very interesting.
yeah.
H2O is the bottom two for me. You're gonna need to
Well,
slow down.
I can't wait. Like Jason, try to hang on to your list until we get to our list because I want to see like after we're done giving our list, I'm gonna have you come in there and just burn it down. So hang on to that, Deb. If you got one too, when we get there, hang on to that. Jason, I will say hang on to like too many spoilers because Deb has not seen all of them. She's seen 78, 81, Kills, 18. That's where she's at. So I'm kind of keeping some things vague just to not like truly spoil some of it, but. I like the classroom scene and nearly identical between 70 and 18. Yeah, that once again, it's
Yes.
talking about fate. There's ideas of fate, the boogeyman. You can't kill evil. It's more.
That scene gets so much credit like throughout the sequels. It pops up in H2O, it pops up in the reboot, it popped like you're gonna notice that scene being borrowed throughout. It's also I think it's borrowed in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'll explain to that when we one day get to it. But it's an iconic scene. Oh, I
Jason
know.
says you won't believe where I rank 78. Oh my God, dude, burn it! Like I said, when Caleb and I get done with our list, when we get there, man, I want you to just come in at the top end of the show and just burn it down. We're gonna watch it just go down in flames, and we'll just probably rant for a solid hour on your list. So we're all friends, so don't take it personally when we rip each other's to shreds once we're done being professional. But uh, so real quick, so how I'll save it when I talk about Deb and Matt's. Caleb, I'm gonna have you come in here, finish up 78 with any other thoughts, and I'll let you take over for 81. And then after that's done, I'm gonna come in with some thoughts from Deb and Matt and with their first time viewing because it was very interesting to see somebody of a young. I don't want to say young adult like 18, but not middle-aged adult watch Halloween for the first time and two different experiences was really cool.
Yeah. For the original Halloween, I just got to toss it out. It was one of the first horror movies that I sat all the way through. I was a little kid. I don't know how old specifically. I was at my grandparents' house, and they had one of those TVs that was built into the wood chest, and we had rigged VCR to it. It wasn't meant to accept VCRs, but we were children of the 80s and 90s. We figured it out. And I sat there frozen the whole time. Like I couldn't move. I think I was standing, to be honest. And it just there was also like an orange shag carpet, so it really helped. The vibe.
It makes me think about Halloween 3, like with the kids sitting in front of the TV. Yeah, because that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just I think it was the perfect time to see it. Like for me, I'm not going to show it to my kid. Let me just put it that way. It's going to be a while before he sees Halloween. But for me, it was a perfect introduction to the film, and that memory sticks with me. I remember I couldn't move. I don't think I blinked the whole movie. Like I was that focused in on how terrified I was. Um, that being said, a movie that had that kind of impact that was shot in 20 days, something like that.
20 days, yeah. Approximately, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of it was made off the hip, like, oh, we're gonna have the actor come out in the clown mask. Okay, that looks kind of creepy. Okay, we'll take some spray paint to this mask, and we'll take some black spray paint to the hair. All right, go put that on. Oh, that's the one. Like
Yeah, shade the sideburns. Yeah.
it's crazy. Like so many things worked that I mean, as somebody who's painted some masks before, you can't spray paint a Michael Myers mask today with the spray paint we have. That's one of the things that gives the effect of Myers mask through the first film and the second film. The paint doesn't separate as easy, but it does wear. It tethers. It creates a bond with the dirt. But today, if you try and spray paint a mask, it's just going to come off within a couple of weeks. It doesn't stick. It's different. It's a different time. It is a great film.
I think it's like you said, as a kid, I think it like somewhere between like 8 and 12, depending on maturity. Like you're saying, like you're on your edge of your seat because you haven't seen everything yet. You know what I mean? You are more invested in what's going to happen, and like the ghost-like figure. You're more like, oh my God, he's there. You pick up more on the supernatural side because you're getting invested. But when you're not invested, when you just want him to put somebody's head through a wall or curb stomp them, you kind of get frustrated. I can completely understand that. If that's not if you want, like, this is a build. If you want to ride, this is a slower ride. This is an enjoy the scenery, enjoy the nuance. Yeah. It's not a white knuckle ride like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
I like 3.
Yeah, I think we had TVs like that. Yeah, my black. We had a black and white TV on a roller, and then we had a super tiny colored TV. I think I was 4 when I first saw. Sorry, hang on one second. I think 4 was the first I saw. Yeah, 4. I think 4 was the first of the franchise I saw. I think 4. Oh yeah.
4 is a good one.
That's a good one to start with too, because it gives you the backstories and then away you go. So 4 is a good one to start on.
And I
wouldn't recommend it, but it's just.
I also think there's an argument that it's one of the most fall feeling in the franchise. I think that's fair.
It does, and the skies are very gray. And I know I watched the 4K version. I didn't watch it on its original color timing, but they did a good job. I wish they would have toned down the green in the grass because the grass is very green. 4's opening is Halloween. Actually, 4 has one of my least favorite openings, but just the credits or the names and everything. Anyway, so it's real quick. We're gonna move on to 81 here in just a second. The negative I kind of have with the movie is it for a movie that I hold so close and I hold such high regards. The negatives I have with it are it is a clear. And now it could be tip of the hat. It could be a love for these movies. I won't say it's a complete ripoff, but you listen to the score and tell me it's not Jaws. The shark on his way. You can't see him, but he's coming. He's getting closer, closer, closer. Bam. It's the same thing with Michael. Michael stays at a distance the entire movie. And as he gets closer to night, as he gets closer to the kill, he gets closer and closer and closer. And then like they even keep him in fog, like in the car, where she sits in there. It's all fogged up. Like they do a good job of keeping him at a distance until the very end. So the score kind of bugs me that it feels very Jaws. It also has a lot of stuff that makes me think of Psycho, which is a phenomenal masterpiece in its own right. And it also really, really feels like a ripoff of a Black Christmas. Black Christmas is okay, but John Carpenter had a conversation with Bob Clark, the director of Black Christmas, and they were talking about a sequel, wanting to do a sequel to Black Xmas. And he talked about Billy escaping or still being at large, and it would take place on a different like Halloween. It would take place on that. So you have an escape patient. We have the theme from Jaws. You put a mask on him. He's crazy. The one thing is there's no phone calls. It dials down and it kind of blends some of the greats together to give its own thing. But sometimes when I see it, I'm like, and John Carpenter says that he did not rip it off, and Bob Clark, rest in peace, never said that he thought he did. But it really, like, once you see Black Christmas, you're just like, damn, that's a Halloween shot. That's some Halloween story right there. Some of the girls in dialogue have similar vibes, but I love Halloween. That's just my one little negative thing. Caleb, I'm going to go ahead and give my rating, and it's a 10. It is a 10. I've got, like, I pulled back because as you get older, things like dial down a little bit, but man, still the magic of the movie to me, it's God tier, especially for being 40 plus years old, and it's still great. And it's like I said, it's a nice in between of Psycho and Friday the 13th, where you just don't get those movies anymore because there's just not a crowd for it really as much.
Absolutely.
You guys, I know you don't like Jaws. What is wrong with these kids today?
Is for the next on our timeline list. Yes, 4, 5, and 6 will be our next trip. It is considered the Thorn trilogy. 4 is I'll just hold it in. Yes, 4, 5, and 6 are our next stops.
Deb says making him the Shape, which is an awesome name. Yeah, and even in the end credits, you see the Shape, and that's so awesome. It's a nice touch. It's a 10, man. It is a 10. Like, you can't take points away. Well, okay, you can, because if you watch it for a first time now, but I mean, the love I have for it, the information I just gave you, the 20 days, the limited budget, the limited everything, like the speed at which they did it, the magic of the camera, the music, it's a 10. It's a 10. Yeah. Like, it's 10.
I am 100% with you. It is a 10. It is, I mean, if you've watched our videos, we recently did a ranking of favorite horror movies of all time, and I said my top 2 go back and forth all the time. And it's a 10. Halloween is one of my top 2 horror movies. Depending on the day, it's number 1 or number 2. That's just how it is. There's some things that don't hold up as well today, but it works. It absolutely works. Also, I want their, I think it's a Grand Prix or a Monte Carlo. I want that car. Annie's
Jim's giving it a 7. I'm going to hang on to her. I'm going to hang on to her thing there towards the end, but.
Bores me to tears.
Oh, man, bores you to tears. What did you give it? Jason, did you give it a rating?
Not yet.
I'm going to say that Jason gives it a 5. No.
So, I give it a 10. John gives it a 10. You won't be surprised when we do our Halloween ranking of where it's at for both of us. But I don't really have too many negatives about the original Halloween. There's some things that are dated, but I mean, it was made in 1978, so of course there are. Things that were made in 2002 are dated now. God, that hurts to say. So, 5 is being... I'm going to move on to Halloween 2. I can't read that comment. So, 1981. Halloween 2. John Carpenter did not want to make this film at all. It's not a secret. He was hoping to make a Halloween anthology series. So he was looking into some of his other films. Some of the films he did later were ideas he had for anthology. So you get the first Halloween about a boogeyman killer. Second Halloween, maybe about aliens. Third Halloween, maybe about this. Fourth, that was his plan. And when he pitched it, he was told flat out, no, bring Michael Myers back. They love Michael Myers. And we want to make it more gory. And he was like, I don't want to. And they were like, okay, if you do it, we'll give you your anthology. We'll give you Halloween 3. He said, okay. So he signed on. The rumor has it, and this is his rumor because I've heard him say it about 4 times, different ways, but this one's the most consistent, is he was up late, he was drinking, he didn't understand how to make a sequel, and then he was like, I got it. because I need to bring Jamie Lee Curtis back, will make her his sister. And he calls it writer's block and an error to this day. I'm neither here nor there. I can see why people like the sister angle. I can see why people hate the sister angle. But for being offered X amount of millions of dollars to do it, you're going to find some connective tissue somewhere, and that wasn't the worst leap ever made, especially in a generation where we're on our 10th Fast and the Furious film. So, $2.5 million budget, jumping from $300,000 for the first one. That is a significant increase in just a couple of years. That's crazy. I think Halloween 2, the weirdest part for me is how much it ramps up the slasher. They took what was great about the first Halloween, dialed it down a little, and kind of increased the Jason Voorhees type murderous, just savage, crazy stuff. With that, we also got a new Michael Myers instead of Nick Castle, Tony Moran, the other guys. You get Dick Warlock, which is a fan favorite. So, my personal favorite mask look is the Warlock stretch. There's something so intimidating. That is the same mask from the first movie. It was sitting in a shoebox under some books under Deborah Hill's bed, and she smoked. So it had just warped and faded and got weird, and Dick Warlock had a wider head. So he puts it on, different shape. That to me is terrifying. The way he looks, the way he embodies that character, horrifying in comparison to Nick Castle.
The mask is one of the masks that was used in 78, and it's also like you said, Dick Warlock's head is bigger, but you also have to remember that the masks were not treated nicely in the first movie, and that they were worn by multiple different people, so it was jacked up, not just because of Dick Warlock's tushy head, but it's still, it works so well with the movie, man. And I gotta say, we said in our commentary, Halloween 81 mask is my favorite mask. Instead of a mask being on Michael Myers in 78, the mask has become Michael Myers. Like, he has become, that is him. It's not a mask anymore to me. It's freaky.
Yeah. Especially he's got a very Terminator-like presence in Halloween 2. The way he walks through the glass, his slow walk, his demeanor, the way he takes the kills is so mechanical, whereas it didn't feel that way in the first film. Something about it is much more scary. See, I lost interest after Fast 5, which I think everybody did. I mean, honestly.
Jason had a great comment about 78 Halloween being like the original Star Wars. I can completely understand that. That is a great comparison. That's great. I mean, if you don't like it, and I get that. But to me, Star Wars is still a 10, but is not as enjoyable as some of the others. Yeah, sorry.
You're good. I think you just found Killing interesting. I don't even think pleasurable. Just seeing the way he always tilts his head or follows at a distance. Yeah.
In the book, it actually aroused him. We won't get into that, but it's a little weird. They get a little happy with that, but they expand on that in Kills. I think he does enjoy it. It's like playing with his food. He's not like but in 78 to 81 and then 78 to 18, and I even told this to James Duke Courtney when we met him in 2019 or whatever it was, 2020. I said, I love your portrayal of the Shape, because in 78 it felt like a kid out on his own that just wants to like try beer or stuff like that. It always makes me think of like You're Let Loose, right? Like Tony Montana in Scarface having a little bit of cocaine, and by the end of the movie he's sitting there with a mound of cocaine and it's all over his face. Like, there's just a little bit, now, you know what I mean? It feels like a serial killer's need to keep more and more and more. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, absolutely. This movie, though, was definitely a rip on the slasher genre. It pulled hard from the movies that the first one kind of separated itself from. It also only shot this. This is still interesting. It only took 6 weeks to shoot. Again, not a
Yeah,
very long shoot. Not, I
yeah.
mean, especially getting Donald Pleasance back, getting Jamie Lee Curtis back. That's not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, Jamie Lee got 10 times the pay, dude. She got 10 grand for the first movie. She got 100,000 in the sequel for laying in a bed the whole time with a wig
Hold
on.
on, hold
Sorry,
that
man.
thought. So
Sorry.
before I get to how much she is acting in the movie, I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room that is her wig. I didn't notice it until just a couple years ago, and it didn't really bug me when I first noticed it. But now every time I watch it, I know it's a wig, and that just I don't know why it gets me.
Doesn't
Like
bother me at all.
it
I
didn't
watched it
used
on
to.
I watched it on Blu-ray and 4K, and I mean, if you really want to look at it, you can see it, but I don't. It doesn't bother me at all. But no, going back to the mask real quick before I forget. So 70, I always liked 81 mask because it was really creepy. But when
Mhm.
I watched it in Blu-ray, and then I immediately watched it in 4K the next day because we did our commentary. I watched it on Blu-ray, then I watched 4K the next day. It just got even better. I don't know what it is, man. It's just it just I don't know. Like in the first movie, and if you watch it in high definition, he kind of has like a monkey face because it comes out here a little bit because it doesn't quite fit over his face very well. It's okay, but sometimes it just like on the phone and some other shots. But like I said, in that second one, it just looks like it's his face.
It almost
That
pulls
is him.
it. Yeah, the Warlock Stretch is intimidating for and I love how it got nicknamed the Warlock Stretch because
Yeah.
that's definitely Dick Warlock's head, and it's just intimidating. But like, so when Trick or Treat Studios first made the Michael Myers masks, and the first couple they came out with was like Halloween 6 was one of the first. So of course I'm at Party City and I'm like, yes, and I put it on and it's just too small that my face stretches it. And my first thought was, this is nowhere near as cool as the Warlock stretch. And I got mad and just hung it back up. So, like, it's the way the mask fits him, the way the jumpsuit fits him, the way he walks, moves, it works. And Jamie Lee Curtis does almost nothing in this movie.
Nothing. Like she does nothing up until like not. Yeah, I'll wait to save it for my negatives at the end. But yeah, it's pretty brutal. Also, I will say that the nastiness of the mask too, man, just makes him look zombie like nasty. At the end when he steps out, it's like, "Wang!" And he's in the red light, man, and his hair is extra like crispy now and like nasty and twirly. He looks freaky. Like that synth music, man, and the way he looks just makes the movie meaner, faster pace most of the time, and I love it. But yeah, Jamie Lee, what a payday for her! I'll take that any day,
The
any day.
score for Halloween 2, honestly, I think is my favorite Halloween score. The music in this movie, it's fitting, and also it's way more John Carpenter-esque than like any of the other Halloween movies. Because if you pay attention to his other filmography, it's that 80s synth kind of intense music. So you got Halloween 2, Halloween 3, and then
He
you
didn't
get
do the
some of
score for
his.
81 though.
He may not have, but it was
I'm sure he was a
heavily.
producer, so right. He
Yeah,
was a producer and he directed some of the movies. So
yeah.
uh,
It was his signature tone that he took with him at least, and
yeah,
it hits, it slaps, as the kids say. Really didn't even notice a wig. Yeah, she's wearing a wig. She cut her hair for, I can't remember what role. I think it was a comedy.
I don't remember. I can't remember. She did a
But
ton of horror movies there in the early 80s. No, yeah, and I do love H6 Mask. I'll probably save that for the ranking, but yeah,
yeah,
81 is is my favorite mask. And it's
Yeah.
really thanks to high definition, to be honest with you. And I really thought that would be the opposite effects. Man, I just love it. I think
Yeah.
it goes with the movie.
Vastly
81, yeah,
enjoyed
yeah, yeah. I
81
enjoyed
moments
81.
of
Yep.
me. I jumped even when terrified, anticipated. Cool. Yeah, 81 has a really, really good way of kind of pushing those moments. Like the incredible hot tub scene. Like you know he's there. You know what's gonna happen. Or like the when they take you to the scene where the dude's been or the lady's been bled out. Like, that's intense. Um,
Yeah. If you're gonna make a cutaway kill or a kill that's not on screen, like leaving it with something like that, where like it's like bright red and you just see it, yeah, it's cool, man.
yeah.
Or the deal to the temple or the eye,
Oh,
excuse
yeah.
me, the syringe to the eye. Woo!
Yeah. She was injured and drugged up for the first three quarters. This is true,
Yeah, man.
but where I know what scene John wants to talk about because we've both talked about it before because it bugs us both. I'm sure he'll bring it up in his negatives. We'll get there. Then manage to still hobble all around, get out that window and hide in a car. Yeah, definitely a bad choice. And then get back to the hospital with Loomis. Yeah, and that's when the Michael Myers-inator walks through the glass. Dude,
Right.
I think it's funny because that scene recently started dividing fans on awesome and horrible, and I'm still on team awesome. I don't.
It's
He just
awesome.
walks straight through it, just nothing.
It's
Also,
also like it's the subtlety of like not having to grunt and put your whole body through it. It's like Superman. Like if he flicked you, it'd be like Batman drop kicking you. You know what I mean? If he gently flicked you, kind of a thing. Like it's the same
yeah,
thing with Bob hanging him up and just boop, with like hardly any effort. It's the the superhuman strength, that's the subtleties of it.
yeah.
It's going back to like the actors and stuff like that. Rick Rosenthal directed this movie, and I don't give, and I feel bad because I probably should, but a lot of the I don't know, a lot of the praise gets ripped away from him because it's written again by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. It's like all the bloody scenes and a lot of the really good scenes are directed by John Carpenter because they were like, this is too slow, this isn't working, we got to add this, that, and the other thing. So I know John Carpenter didn't direct it, but he directed some of the best parts of the entire movie. So it's one of those things where I'm glad he's there. I'm glad we got the movie, but it sucks that I can't give him more praise because I just don't see it, especially when you follow it up with Resurrection. Granted, he has done some other movies that are good, but as far as Halloween, I think, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Lifting the nurse on the scalpel blade.
yeah,
Okay. From an adult perspective, it's goofy, but from the perspective of like 10-year-old me, the first time I'm seeing it, that was awesome. And
dude, love it.
that my brain went to the leverage that it would take to be able to just lift someone with such a small object with so little force. That idea was crazy to me,
Yeah.
and still to this day I find it to be a really cool scene because of that. But it is a goofy thought. It's a 50. It's not nearly as wacky as the Hatchet movies, so we'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I'll let you take over. You keep going with your positives. I'll wait.
So one more really, really big positive that I have to give this movie is Loomis. This movie is a Loomis movie, and we'll get there eventually, but I have an argument for 5 as well. This movie, he just takes the screen and runs with it. He had it in the first movie, but he didn't have as much screen time. Here, he's trying to fight the evil. He's trying to figure it out. He's trying to it. He talks about it being his fault. Like it's the character of Loomis is what makes Halloween 2 so great, in my opinion. Yeah.
See, my one of the biggest standouts for me, and now it's just like with the first movie, we can talk about the second movie. Like, if you don't have the score from the first movie falls flat on its face. You don't have Donald Pleasance, falls flat on its face. Jamie Lee Curtis is great, but the directing, the camera work, the score, and Donald Pleasance really take it to the next level and make it god tier to me. The second movie is very, very similar. You have a great person playing the Shape. Donald Pleasance comes back and crushes it on equal, if not better, standards than the first movie. He gives some similar hype and build and tension ratcheting, while not feeling like a complete repeat from 78. It's one of those things where, yeah, it's just, if you don't have the score again, if you don't have Donald Pleasance, falls on his face. It's the highlight spot of the second movie for me. So in the first movie, you got, looking at a wall, or sitting at a wall, looking past the wall, and humanly patient for this night. So you have a little bit of like supernatural, like nothing's left, no conscience, no rudimentary sense of right or wrong, death, life, all that good stuff. And in the second movie, they talk about the unconscious mind of evil, Sam Hain. What would happen if a person, like almost like a James Bond villain that doesn't feel pain, that has one motive, is to kill, and that everything else is a secondary. It gives you just enough about pagan gods and rituals and stuff like that, and then the unconscious mind that gives you just enough to give you a little bit more and maintain the level of hidden mystery of Myers that I love so much. So his mystique is crucial, especially, he kind of gets thrown around, but I love the unconscious mind. It's my biggest takeaway from this movie. That's not the subtle takeaway. Go ahead. Sorry.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Dude, I don't care. This Michael Myers, this, of all the movies, everywhere, this, I think, resonates with me so hard because he is like the T-800 in the first Terminator. Like,
yep.
I really think that there's a strong connection there. Like, the way that Arnold moved in the first Terminator, it was almost like a copy paste. It's crazy. But I feel a strong connection between Halloween 2 and the Terminator.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say that Terminator also ripped off Halloween / Jaws theme, but mostly Jaws. Let's say, hang on. It was just,
this movie is what made him cooler to me. He really was unstoppable. Matt didn't know how he didn't burn his hands in the therapy tub when it melted the nurse.
Well, that's also some of the unconscious mind, the becoming more supernatural, like in the Halloween Kills, the more he kills, the more he transcends. Like, it's that, I think about it as like mother strength. Like I said, the Bond villain, stuff like that. There's just subtle hints of rich filmography, lore, back stuff that it makes me feel, but without explaining it to you, without like him regenerating an arm instantly and keep coming and yeah.
So they lean into it casually with Halloween 2, which I think is how fans can accept it so much, myself included. And I hate to keep kicking this horse, but that's the complete opposite of what was promised for the new Halloween trilogy. What was promised was a return to the first, where he took 6 shots and he was down. He probably limped away. He's a human. He's a guy. It's not supernatural. I think that is what gets John and I so twisted up. Whereas this kind of leans into, okay, there's something more to him, but we're not going to punch you in the face with it, which they start to. So,
oh yeah,
hold on to your bits.
Well, and it's something too where it's sometimes the shtick plays for only so long, right? Like, he can be a little superhuman for one night, and I'll buy that, and it keeps some of the quality of the first movie intact, right? And you can expand on that, like I said. But if you keep going and you blow him up and he's eating hearts or something stupid, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you if you completely
Don't you
detach yourself.
reference Jason Goes to Hell in this.
But if you completely detach yourself from that, it kind of kills. And it plays for one movie, and then after that, you really have to disbelief, or you really have to go into zombie territory. Um, the ending is one of the best endings in the entire Halloween franchise.
Yeah,
It just is.
absolutely.
I mean, it's time, Michael. The swiping, once again, fate shooting him in the eyes, blinding him. The blood tears might be one of the most iconic shots in the entire franchise.
And
Also,
then how he just does this and he's still going.
yeah.
That
And then
swipe
the back and
noise.
forth with the gas tanks, and it's just so good. The explosion. I don't have it hung. I have a poster with Michael on flames from the Scream Factory, and Jamie Lee's hiding behind that sink or whatever it is. And it's at that time it was the longest burn ever. And it sucks because they didn't use the tape on the inside, so it burnt the holy bejesus out of Dick Warlock. And they had to do it again. They were like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, but like, can we do it again?" And he was like, "Oh, okay." Like, dang, like the dude just got lit on fire for the longest amount of time, got seriously burned, and he did it again. Like once again, like I don't remember how much he got paid for it. I meant to look that up. I couldn't see. And I wanted to mention also with Deborah Hill. I meant to look that up because I just don't remember it from memory, and I couldn't find it real fast before we did that tonight. I really apologize. I tried real quick, but I was running a little late. But yeah, it's just that ending is just awesome. And then that Mr. Sandman, boom, 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 and it's just
And I have to say, it's a definitive end. So if you just watch those two movies and never watch the sequels, that's honestly a good place to just call it. Like, wash your
right,
hands of the franchise and peace out. Like, it's not going to get much better than that. I promise you that.
right.
But it made money, so they kept going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So real quick, I mean, it's awesome. I want to get into my negatives real quick, and then I'll give my rating on it, and then we'll just kind of continue on a little bit of banter and rating, and I'll talk about Dev and Matt's first time viewing. I'm not.
It does not. Oh my God. Sorry.
Oh, it gets my. Yeah, it's. You know, let's see. I buy those Superhuman for the whole franchise. As it goes, as it plays out, I'll buy it. It's fine, but like I said, the more you get nostalgia for that original movie, the more you listen to the development of the story, what they were doing, what they were aiming for. Just the original intent of the character is very important to me. It's just what I think of the character. I'm not a Halloween purist. I won't really quite say that, but I lean that way. Keep in mind, this is a movie that was, once again, the '78 movie, independent movie. They had no idea it was going to blow up. It was not important to them. It was just a stepping stone in their career. Like, they just didn't think it was going to be God tier like it became. '81, they kind of knew what they had, but even still in '81, they did not realize it was going to have a whole franchise because big franchises just weren't really a thing at the time, not generally as they are today. So going into the second movie, like I said, I buy the unconscious mind. I buy that he's still surviving on one night. And at the end, it really takes it into, it's done. If you wanted to end there, it's done. The sister, the family angle plays for a certain amount of time. I think it gets played out because it's something that the payoff, for at least for me, never quite gets there. I think once again, as an original movie, I think that the original intent of the character just being a loose shark in the ocean, the storm that just wrecks the trailer park and then goes into the rich neighborhood or goes into wherever, you know what I mean? Like it has no direction. It just wrecks havoc. Plays more for me. I like that idea of the character, and it's more fun that you can have with it. With Halloween Ends, I like the idea of hopefully we see some impact from Michael from 3 or 4 years later, where he's been killing people and nobody ever sees him. Bodies just start dropping. That's what I kind of hope. I hope they dial it back down. We'll have to see. But so the family angle to me is kind of a negative because it pigeonholes some of the franchise. Like I said, I won't completely spoil it because we're really focusing in on 2. But that's something that I don't care for. And then it does drag in the middle of the movie, like from when like Ben Tramer gets hit, and then like at the very end where Michael shows up or when Loomis shows up, like the car ride's good and there's some other good stuff, but it it could have really been sped up a little bit. And then the idea of space consciousness, it is hard to tell where Michael is and where Jamie is and where Laurie is. Like I'm not always sure like he's a threat, like he's always there, but you don't really know how close he is in some shots. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to rate it, and then Caleb, I'll let you give your thoughts. My bad. I'm going to give this movie. I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. That's fair. Real quick, to break up the Halloween talk, I saw a meme today that I could not. I was at work and I was walking back into the office and I busted up laughing. It was a review for Nope, and this guy was like, "Dude, Nope was great, but the Halloween Ends trailer played, and I just don't get what Michael Myers." And I keep thinking about this dude who yelled, "What's Michael Myers' problem with this lady?" And I just lost it. Like, it's been, what, 40 some odd years now, and he's still going after this. Like, that just killed me. It tickled my funny bone.
Jason says a 9 question mark. So, like, I would say probably for an average person, if you just sat somebody in front of the TV that's somewhat into horror movies like the first movie, I would say that this is probably a 7 to the average person. But I mean, I have a lot of love for this franchise, and as a kid, man, the nuance was gone. Like, it was less in the 81, but the creepy factor, the rock and roll, the everything else was just turned up, and I think it was turned up perfectly. And once again, it's a great transition from 78 Halloween to Friday the 13th. Again, like it's still a good little in between.
Yeah. So, my negative,
average.
I really thought John was going to bring this up, but how did Laurie lose her voice and then just gain it back once people closed the door? Like, really? That's how that scene's going to play out? I really thought you were going to bring that up because we both talked about it in the commentary. Like, dude,
yeah,
it's a little bugs me.
It's dumb, but it's one of those things where it plays good enough, and Michael comes in at the right second, like I said, with that, and he's like in that red light, and he just kind of saves that scene.
It's a great shot, but oh man, is it? Oh,
and I will say as a negative too. Like I think, well, positive and a negative. Nick Castle and Dick Warlock, man, from the first and second movie, that flow when they have Michael Myers in the nursery, right, by the kids and stuff like that, and it's got the point of view shot and all that, like, and then like him coming in and out of the doors, standing in the door frames, like his posture and subtleties and stuff like that, how they shoot him from the side sometimes, perfect transition. But I do really, really dislike the slow movements from the staircase into the red room where she's getting into the elevator. That section right there, if they would have just sped that up just a little bit, it would be, I mean, it might take the movie to a 9.5 for me. Like, it drives me crazy. And I do subscribe to the idea of, like, the more he kills, the more he transcends, the more damage he gets, the more kills and damage he becomes more zombie-like. I'll buy that, and it works for the movie. It's fine, but it does bug me a little bit. Deb gave it an 8. Matt hated that too. Yeah, man, it's like the movie knew you had to turn him down a little bit, but I think reflexes took over, fight or flight, freeze. Yeah, that's kind of it too. Like the shock of like, damn, Jimmy's head just hit the steering wheel. Like Loomis is right there. Michael could be anywhere. Like she's on drugs. She's in pain. Like, so I mean, it does suck, but that's part of the movie too, where like that middle part where like Loomis is slowing down and like we're trying to get to the Laurie thing with Michael. Like and that stupid, like we said it on the commentary, that stupid security guard. That's like a 10-minute scene that could be 2 minutes. God dang it, does this movie linger? Like, they needed to cut 20 minutes off this movie, and it would have been a 10. Couple tweaks, cut 20 minutes, a 10. It's hard not to
So,
burn it down already. Oh, hang in there,
so,
buddy. I'm glad you're holding some restraint. But
so,
hey, Deb, sorry, real quick, Deb, if Matt's there, ask him what he gives it, and then we'll get into your thoughts here in just a second. Go ahead. Sorry.
so,
So,
the first time I saw this movie, I keep throwing this out there. Halloween 1 and 2 are very important in my life. First time I saw this movie, it was on the 4th of July. It was a sleepover at my cousin's house. We watched it, and I thought it was so awesome. It didn't scare me like the first one did because I had had exposure to other horror films. Um, Personally, it is a favorite staple horror movie like of all time. For that, and for the nostalgia, for how good of a flow it is from 1 to 2, for Donald Pleasance's character's growth, for Dick Warlock's portrayal, for the hospital scene. It's like the hospital is a character in this movie. For all that, this gets a 9.5 out of me.
yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's the best sequel. It just is. Like it.
Well, hold on there, sir.
It
You
just
are all
is.
killing me. It just it's not as it's more rock and roll, but it like I said, it maintains some of the mystique, it maintains some of the flavor while amping it up just a little bit, suspend your disbelief just a little bit, and just ride the ride, man. And yeah, it's as good, like for being in a corner of not knowing what to do, and like, hey, you got to make it. Like, if you don't make it, we'll find somebody else to make it, and they did. I think it's as good of a sequel as you could have gotten at that time. I mean, nothing was probably going to ever touch the original right off the heels of it, but hospitals are arguably one of the scariest movie environments for me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And especially, like, that's something that does bother me a little bit, I guess, like for this movie and for the newest Scream. Like, there's not a whole lot of well, the newest Scream and then Scream 4, there's not a lot of people in these hospitals. Like, it's probably budget, and if they just don't have the time or they don't want to mess with just random characters coming out of the bedroom to go potty or whatever it is. But as somebody who spent time in a hospital at night, like, there really there's nobody there. It is super creepy, especially when you wake up and there's like you're in a Saint whatever hospital, and you look up and then there's Mary Mother of God's like creepy statue staring at you. Like, they're hospitals are creepy, man.
Yep. Jason asked best sequel of what? Horror movies. He said the only first movie of the big franchise I like is Nightmare 1.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, we knew he doesn't like 78 as much as the rest, so that's fair. We knew that. Most people don't. Friday the 13th is a tough start. Once again, I don't know if Deb's seen those. I don't think she has seen all of them, so hang on there for any too big of spoilers, but Friday the 13th is definitely a movie where I would just, like, now that I've seen it, I would fast forward to like the last 40 minutes, and then it's really the end of the movie saves the entire movie.
That's one day. But actually, I think we already did that. It's been a while. We did
a review. We did a review, not a commentary, for Friday the 13th, the original.
Yep, that's right. That was back before COVID hit. Halloween 2 is absolutely one of the staple horror movies in my home. I talk a lot about staple movies and movies that I watch all the time, and like I flat out admit that at any given moment I could pop in House of a Thousand Corpses and sit through the whole thing. Halloween 2 is that way as well. It is just awesome. There's so much to like about that movie. There's more errors to catch in that movie than there are the first, which I think is what brings it down. By
7 shots, not 6.
Yeah. But it's just worth it.
Yeah. House of a Thousand Corpses, yeah, we reviewed that series. I believe we did all of them. No, actually, I think we just did.
We didn't do 3 from Hell.
That's right. once again, a lot of things taken from other movies. But it's hard to say it's not entertaining. It keeps your attention, and it's a wow factor. Fish Boy is something that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Sid Haig, in my opinion, carries that movie, like, or it doesn't carry the movie, but for me, the climax, like the best part of the entire movie, is that first 5 minutes. Like he's 10 minutes, whatever it is. He's just awesome.
Yeah.
You know, once he's gone, he's so good that I miss him, and it kind of distracts me from the rest of the movie. I have to kind of like reset my brain to love the new characters, which I do. They're good, but man, Sid Haig was just amazing. I'm so glad that Rob Zombie talked him into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's where I land on Halloween too.
Yeah. So for Matt and Deb, they did a first time watch. They did 78, 81. And then they messed up, went to Kills partially through. Then they went 18 and then did Kills. But and she said that Kills made a lot more sense when you watch 18 first, which that checks out.
That does check out.
But no, so she found it intriguing, suspenseful. She definitely saw the magic of the movie. She did say that there are some points that are today, parts of the movie that are a little boring, a little slow. Completely understand that, especially with all we've done now, the way that horror has evolved.
Oh yeah,
I completely understand that. Matt said that he's more on the Jason side, where he was bored to tears. You know, he used an analogy of an abstract painting that some people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for, but you look at it, it's like, looks like a preschooler did it. So some people see the magic and some don't. That's a good analogy on that one. He had another one that's not appropriate, but the 78 to the original Star Wars is very funny and very, very spot on. I do really like that. So the second movie Matt enjoyed a lot more. Definitely the rock and roll, the more in your face kills. You know, it's faster paced, it's more aggressive. He liked that. And Deb liked 81 a lot more. She liked 81 more as a horror and 78 more as a thriller, which completely get that. Perfect. Again, perfect, just quick and down to the point. And you know, I think I may have said that to her, that 78, for all intents and purposes, in today's world, is a thriller. It really is. I mean, if 7 is a thriller, Halloween's a thriller in today's world. It's horror for the time it came out. It really is, and it should always be on the horror shelf. But it really is in today's. It's a thriller. Episode 4 is really boring, but I still love Star Wars. Yeah, that's the thing. It's world building. Once again, playing with the Star Wars is world building, slower, character building, less money, but still iconic and epic. And there's really very little imperfections for what it had.
This is a conversation we've had before, but you know, like films that came out in this era as horror, like The Omen, The Exorcist, films of this time, there was a lot more build up, a lot more slow pace, a lot more getting to a point, but it also, you know, it took more to show the action or the horror or the whatever in a film in that time. So by today's standards, the original Halloween is not that scary of a movie. It is more of a thriller. But I also think that there's something to be said, again, and you'll catch me saying this all the time, in a world full of Marvel movies that never end about sky beams and alien invasions, like the stakes, you get kind of turned off to the stakes of a movie. Like, and I think that's why I like some of the older, slower build films so much, because it's a more relatable story. I don't think I will, in my lifetime or anybody else's, see General Zod and Clark Kent destroying New York City. So, you know, the stakes are much more believable in the first Halloween. Like, some dude stalking a babysitter and trying to kill her. That's
very grounded.
That's
grounded. I mean, granted, he gets stabbed in the eyeball, stabbed in the neck, stabbed in the heart with the butcher's knife, and then shot 6 times and he gets up. But the idea was like the Hitchcock vibes of it. It was like taking from Psycho and all the old stuff. It's all the nuance, the subtleties, the message of the movie. It was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. And he looks down and he sees that he's gone, and he's shocked and he's not shocked, all in the same. They gave him two different ways. He could say, I'll shoot it like you didn't know it was going to happen, and I'll shoot it like you knew it was going to happen. And Donald Pleasance, being an awesome actor that he was, did a perfect combination. And it's just, and then you got Jamie Lee cowering and crying, and the breath, and showing you the rest of the house. It's just the subtlety and the solid filmmaking of a movie. It's a great movie. It transcends horror. It transcends to be just a good movie. It's horror. It's thriller. It transcends to just be a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting. Getting back to the action movies were the same way really until the 80s, right? Considering how horror evolved to more jump scares, heightening and anticipation, throws us off. But Halloween movies do a good job. I'm really glad you liked them, Deb. Deb had the original Halloween an A. No, did you give the original? Because you gave the second one an 8. Deb, what do you give 78? And that's the thing about, like, Halloween came out at a really good time of, like, you know, the monster movies, the Universal monster movies are pretty much like, what, 20 years gone or whatever it is, 20 plus years. Yeah, Psycho was big in the 60s, and then you finally get to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You finally get to The Exorcist, and there's some, like, really, like, it's making headlines. It's taken seriously. It becomes less of like a small genre that's not really cool. It's only cool for so many people, and you can't really market it to, oh my God, we can make some money on this stuff. Like this, a little budget can go a long way. I mean, Tobe Hooper's shot was shot on a potato as well. It's DCM, so 78's a 7 and 81's an 8. So she likes 81 better too, and I totally get that. I totally get that too. Yep.
And Jason said 78 could actually happen, so it does that part well. Yeah. So like that's why when I talk about like certain movies like reality based, that's why the original Strangers gets me. Like that movie is far more effective to me than any Conjuring or like The Exorcist, Omen, like anything like that, or any alien horror movies or monster movie. It's just, you were home.
Right. Well, and that's like, and with any supernatural killer, there was a new movie that came out. I won't spoil it in case anybody hasn't seen it, but the whole movie, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. This killer's great. It's gonna be awesome. And then all of a sudden, you find out killer's full on supernatural, and it took the gravity right out of the balloon. Like, it's just like, and I just saw the balloon go away, because I was like, well, I just don't care anymore. If they're so supernatural that everybody else has no chance, it becomes kind of a guilty pleasure in my mind. If you haven't originally established how I should feel about a character, like when I go and watch Paranormal Activity, as Caleb and I talk about, we don't really get into paranormal stuff, ghost stuff, because you can't really do anything, and they're just all going to die, and it's just, you don't have any stake in it, because everybody's probably going to die. So once you start getting into full-on supernatural, to me, this and Friday the 13th and whatever else that kind of becomes a guilty pleasure. I can still love it, but it becomes a different side note. Like, I can still give it maybe an 8, but I might not have as much love. Loves have to switch. I now have to be in there for supernatural. Let's mess them up. Let's get into this. And I really can, but with Halloween, I tend to be more of a purist. And with Friday the 13th, man, you talk about fire from the hip. We got money. Let's see what we got. Like it just goes wild. But it's always is going to be B tier. It was always a ripoff of Halloween and Psycho and some of the other movies that had come before it. So let's see. Stranger Things is what I've always told people is an actual scary horror movie. Yeah, dude, it's pretty freaky. I really do like Strangers Prey at Night. A couple things that bug me, but solid movie. That's why I like Supernatural Killers better, because I can go to sleep the night after. Yeah, and I get that too. Yeah, if you can kind of detach, like, man, this has never happened, then I get that too. Yeah. And the jump scares, like with supernatural stuff like that, like it just seems like, well, yeah, it's gonna jump scare you. It's there, it's not there. It's a ghost. It's not that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really dislike the ghost paranormal activity movies. Yeah, I like the first three paranormal activity movies, good enough, and then after that, I'm out. Like
Honestly, of the like haunt, paranormal, ghost, possession, all that, I The Omen, I think, is the best of those types of films. I said it. And I absolutely do not enjoy any of the paranormal activity films. I don't find any, that just doesn't stick. But I still stand by this. I was so far removed from that subgenre, and one day somebody recommended, or no, I happened to stumble on The Taking of Deborah Logan. And that movie changed how I felt about paranormal haunt, possession type films, because it was done so well. I feel like so few movies in that subgenre just don't work. And then that movie came along and flipped it. The original Conjuring is good. I don't like any of the other in the series, and John is a strong defender of the second one. But sorry, it feels goofy to me. Like,
I had to watch it a second time, but the I can't remember his name now, but the stretch dude in it, and like I like things with heart in it, the family aspect, the background. Dang, what's his name? Pazuzu or whatever. I can't remember now, but the nun or whatever in that movie's freaky. And I love the romance, and I buy the love, and I buy the family, and the gravity of people could die, or like I think the chemistry and the heart of the movie is what sells it for me. Otherwise, without that, it wouldn't.
I have to say there's some exception to that with some independent films. So Taking of Deborah Logan had a smaller budget, was kind of more on the independent spectrum. Then you have movies like The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which was ridiculously spectacular from beginning to end. Dude, you got to see it. After I watched it, I went out and I bought a copy like within a couple days.
Yeah, everybody loves it. Yeah.
And then like Session 9, where even though the budget doesn't meet the story, it's still executed well enough that it's kind of creepy to watch. Like I just feel like that's something that kind of movie, the possession, the ghost, the haunt, all those movies kind of miss, that they want to go so big that it's like impractical to think of, or like I'm not really scared because those effects are too much. Like that doesn't seem like something real. Like when you're a little kid, I can get why it's scary. But as a grown adult, like, meh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like when your imagination as a younger kid and you kind of fill in the gaps, you let things go. And especially when we were growing up, and I say that like we're ancient, but, like we were watching movies before CGI was huge. You know what I mean? So like when they were really stretching technology, a little bit of CGI, a little bit of claymation, whatever they were doing, you've never seen that before. You know what I mean? Ever. You might have seen it like a cartoon or something, like something of its equivalence, but and then all of a sudden they just took technology and they just went stupid with it. They were just less effort and they just went stupid with it. So I think it was great to be alive in a really good transition between, seeing some of the stuff like from 84's Terminator to 91's T2, where you got like, the stop motion animation at the end, which still looks pretty good. I mean, for its time, it looks pretty good. And then you still got T2 CGI, which still holds up today, which is insane. Yeah. Jason says that loves House on Haunted Hill remake. Dude, I love that. When that movie came out, blew me away. I haven't seen it in a little while. Good call, though. It's a good one. I don't care for ghost tie. I don't care for the ghost tie, but of course, possession. Yeah.
Possession.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about The Conjuring is it's got both, and it really helps. Once again, Ed and Lorraine, the love story. I buy that chemistry, dude. I buy that chemistry. The basement cellar, man, that's one of the scariest moments in a movie because it's so good. You can relate to being in a dark basement. It takes you back to that feeling of a kid. And my brother, on, I think it was Halloween night. We went through a horror house thing, and I was freaking out, and I was being an annoying little turd as I was as a kid. And my brother threw me in the trunk of the car and drove around for a long time. And so it's like tapping into that like claustrophobic helplessness, dude. And the light with the so good. That clapping's so good.
Yeah, Session 9 is really good.
Yep.
Have you seen it yet, John?
Session 9, I bought it. I have not seen it yet.
Watch it. But just know it's a movie that is best watched in one sitting. So if you can, take the time to do that. I still cannot go in dark basements. Man, as a kid, I couldn't. As an adult, I'm like, I don't know. What are you going to do? Pay my taxes?
Right. Yeah, I love Vincent Price. I still haven't seen the original, but I do love the remake.
It's weird. Like, one movie literally blew away my perspective on those subgenres. Like, it just reopened the door. It let me go back in. I watched the first Insidious. I watched part of the second one. Bleh. And that's probably as far as I'll go with Insidious, because I feel like that they were pulling the normal franchise thing, pumping them out one and one and one. That's what The Conjuring is doing. They're like, we're going to get another Conjuring. Now we're going to get a side story. Now, because we don't own the rights to the word Annabelle, there's going to be 1,500 C-rated knockoffs, so you don't really know which one's which.
I mean, you got to hate them, and they own the rights to some of A Nightmare on Elm Street. But, man, it's the highest grossing horror franchise ever, the Conjuring franchise. It's you got to throw some respect to it, I guess. I completely wouldn't put it up on any pedestal like that, but I mean, apparently Insidious is very close to the Saw franchise, as in it maintains quality for the most part as the series would go on. Like, James Wan did the first one, then Lee Wanell did a couple of them, and then another guy came in. Like, it's just been very impressive for how fast they spit them out, that they were able to maintain quality and story. I've been meaning to dive into that franchise again, but it's kind of hard to do all that. We lived in the basement when we first moved in with the grandparents. Had a lock on the door at the top of the stairs. Super scary for a 4-year-old. Yeah, man. Yeah, the thought of being trapped and not being able to get out like that. Oh, my God. Caleb, before I forget to ask you, did you watch the trailer for season 2 of Chucky?
No.
Cameron, did you finish the first season? You did.
Yeah, I did.
Get ready for Glenn and Glenda.
Oh, I believe, like, they were kind of hinting at that in the show.
Oh, it's full on there. Full on.
Oh, good. I feel like Glenda needed to come back to, like, wrap it up.
You have to do it. To be honest, if you put yourself in Don Mancini's position, you have to. You have kept it canon. You got to come back with it. I say come back strong. You just really iron that out. And, you know, I do respect Steve for what he was trying to do. I hate that movie. I'll never watch it again unless I get paid.
I do. I really like Chucky's line in the first season where he's like, "I'm not a monster," because at the thought of a child being in the LGBTQIAs, I've got a kid who and is like, "Hate you, I'm not a monster." Like, the fact that came from Chucky just made me lose. I couldn't stop laughing.
I do like that as Don Mancini is openly gay, and I do like that they go places in the TV series that normal franchises. Well, like, A, you don't have a TV series to do it, and B, it gives it a little something different. It really just does. I'm glad that he's able to keep this going, and he's able to put his thoughts in there, and I'm really rooting for him. It's just like Rob Zombie. Everybody trashes on him so much, and I'll trash on him too. But I still root for the guy. I know he has potential. I know he's great. He just kind of misses the mark a little bit. And you can see that Don Mancini has really become a better director from Curse onward. So, and he's been using other directors too in the series. So, we forgot my top 10 overall list. Well, forgot my top 10 overall list. You did not have Seed in there. There is no way. There's no way you have Seed in your top 10. There is no way. I will not buy that. No way, dude. I actually just watched our review, and it pisses me off that the autofocus wasn't in there, but it wasn't working. But man, dude, watching that review makes me sad to this day. Like it puts me in a depression. Like I was so happy we were on a high from watching the franchise. We're feeling good. We're pumping out reviews. And then we watched Seed of Chucky, and I didn't even want to do the review. You can see it. I don't even want to do it. Like I had to cut down like a third of that, and it's long, and it's just us complaining about the whole thing. And I still don't understand. Like spoilers for a second if you haven't seen Seed, and for the second season of Chucky, but you had two dolls with souls. Or no. I'm sorry. You had a doll with soul, a soul, and then you split into two kids. But the two kids had souls of their own, and they were your kids too. It still mind boggles me on how you would create a kid and then create more kids, but one soul's more important than the other. I don't understand. Like it still hurts my brain. I don't understand. I probably never will. Like, God, that movie's garbage. I will say that you were talking about last week with the trailer reactions, man. I really do hope that the early screenings of Prey are out and they're good. So I really hope I'm wrong there. I hope I eat my words. And once again, I'm rooting for it. I love the Predator franchise. I just didn't buy what the trailer was trying to sell me, which could be completely different from the movie. But yeah, man, I think this is probably do it for tonight. I'm so happy that we've started the road to Halloween Ends. This has been a long time in the making. I'm pumped for next week. Next week we will be doing 4, 5, and 6. We'll probably save. We're going to try to get through the main focus, and then we'll save Halloween 3 for the end probably, because we got a lot of Halloween videos coming up soon. I know probably nobody cares, but I've got some custom videos that are coming up that I just put a lot of time and effort into, and I enjoy them. And if anybody else enjoys them or it gets help from doing it, I think that's kind of cool. I know it kind of probably hurts the channel, but I don't care. We're here to have fun, so we hope you guys do. So, Deb, you guys need to go to Halloween 4. You've seen 1 and 2. You need to go to Halloween 4. Yeah.
So 4, 5, and 6, which 6 is referred to as Curse of Michael Myers, and 5 is Revenge of Michael Myers, and 4 is Return of Michael Myers. So, it's the Thorn trilogy. Right now, if you don't own them, they're in the $5 bin at Walmart for the 3-pack.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw it with her. Or no, sorry, that was 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that's 5, 6, and 7.
I think
6, 7, and 8. 6, 7.
Yeah,
and 8.
it was. Never mind. Ignore what I said. It was something like that.
Hang on. Oh my God, I can't reach it. Wait. This thing, but a DVD form.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Man, I need the digital of those.
Yeah, man, for like $13 or whatever it is, then you get the digitals with it. Yeah, that's a steal. Halloween 4Ks are coming out of 6, 7, and 8. I don't know. We'll have to see the posters. I might buy them. These are the posters back here of 1 and 2, but I don't know. We'll see. We watched 81 on YouTube, I think. Okay. Yeah. If you can find it for cheap or free, yeah, go for it. But yeah, if not, the Blu-rays are super cheap. It comes with that digital copy, like Caleb was saying. But yeah, thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. Super excited. It has begun. I think of Mortal Kombat where Shang Tsung gets up there and he's talking about that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to put that clip in here if I remember. But yeah, Be Kind Rewind. We got over 150 videos you can check out. Check out that Seed of Chucky review because, oh my God, it was brutal and funny and depressing and it makes me sad thinking about it. So I'm going to move on from that. We will be back next week with 4, 5, and 6. Thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with us. We're going to have even more fun next week, I think, because there's a lot to talk about. Oh my God, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows, and it's crazy thoughts. So I'm super excited. Thanks again, guys. Like I said, thanks again. We're out of here.
Have a good night.